Hello and welcome to another episode of Live Feed on Spotify. I just got done working out, so I'm little disclaimer. I'm sitting on a some kind of workout ball, so you might hear a little bit of sounds that sound like passing gas. But I promise you, I'm not passing gas. It's the balloon. I want to say that first. Second thing I want to say: are you enjoying this beautiful view? Are you enjoying this beautiful view of Norway? Beautiful. I love the city when I was there. Shout out to all my Norway peeps up there. Also, the music you're hearing. The music you're hearing is a personal rendition, right, of a African funeral song. Now, I've done some changes to it, yes, but it's a traditional African. The flute is a traditional African funeral song. The reason why I'm doing that is because we are entering the funeral, or the viewing, you can say, of the United States, and probably a democracy. I've already told you guys that my opinion is that the bullying that happens in politics is the same bullying that happens in schools and the same bullying that happens in the workplace. Okay, you need a power dynamic in order to bully, and that is exactly what's going on in our world. And the reason why I bring this up is I just had a friend tell me, I got a topic for your show. And the topic for your show is, why in the world are people not seeing that what is happening in America right now is something that the Republicans have wanted for a long time? And if you're a Republican, I don't mean to alienate you, but you need to realize this so you could wake up before we're all destroyed. Not just, MAGA Republicans and the right, it's going to be the left too, So this person has just had a conversation, which oddly enough I did too, about how it's crazy how things happen. How Republicans are not MAGA and MAGA are not Republicans. Like they're two separate people. Now, if you want to do research on this, I will send you things that you need to look up, okay? And you do your own research. I don't want you to hear me say this and then just go, well, this guy on Spotify said this, so it must be true. No, do your own research. And that goes for anybody on the left or right. Unfortunately, too much we have people that just hear what one person says and then that's it. Well, that is not the truth, or that has to be the truth because that person said it. Either way, it's wrong. I myself have changed my political view about certain things based on what a few of my friends have told me. Okay? And so I heard them and then I did research. I didn't just hear them and say, no, you're wrong, or no, you're right. I heard them out, and then I did my research. And that's what we all should be doing. But, you can't tell me that MAGA is not Republican and Republicans not MAGA. You can't. The Republicans have been where they are now with their gerrymandering and in getting pissed off when Virginia does this thing of gerrymandering Republicans out of their seats and then getting upset. This has been stuff that's been going on for years. If you look at history, you would see that, yes, this has been going on for years. This is not something that just started now. And if you really, do your research, you will also find that this Project 25 is something that has been started since 1971. You look it up yourself, okay? You look up, I'll give you the breadcrumbs, and you find where to go. Look up Nixon, 1971. I might have the year wrong, but Nixon, 1971. And then look to who he put in the Supreme Court when he was president. And then search that guy and you'll start to go down and see that he didn't call it Project 25, but that he created something like Project 25 in 1971. So how can you tell me that there are people that tell me that this has just been going on since Trump came around. No, this has been going on for a long time. I think what makes Trump unique is that he's willing to do and say the things that other politicians are afraid to do and afraid to say. Like I can shoot someone and get away with it, or the other thing that he says, oh, I would call you pretty, but if I do that, it would be the end of my political career. And he keeps saying that, and it's not the end of his political career. So he's just poking the bear. And this is something that we have to stop this. Because when you sit there and say that a person is good when they're not, they continue to hurt people. And it's like that in any situation. If you got someone that's doing evil stuff and nobody speaks up and nobody says, oh, this person's evil, then they continue to be evil. And that's the same way. And you got to look at that with the MAGA/Republican Party. They're all evil. If you're a Republican, okay, and you're like, we're not all evil, I don't like Trump, then get out of the Republican Party for now. Okay, for now. I'm not saying forever. I'm saying for now, because you're not making yourself look credible with being in this party. Like, well, I'm a good person. Yes, you may help Black and brown people. You may do all the things that a good white person should do. You have no micro. You don't turn around and tell someone, hey, you can't do that job because you're a certain color. You don't tell people things like that and then wonder why they're upset. Great, but you're a Republican. Then get out of the Republican Party. And I understand that believe me, I feel for you. America doesn't give you a choice to get out. It's either Democrat or Republican. You're going to have to just go to the Republican Party for a while. Be there just until, these MAGA people leave. But I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to be gone forever because Republicans were always MAGA. Okay, they just didn't call themselves MAGA then. Look at this Wallace guy. I think his first name is George Wallace. What was his favorite quote that he's famous for? It's probably written on his damn tombstone, right? Segregation now, it was segregation then, it's segregation now, and it's segregation forever. I might have misquoted that, but that's the basic framework of his. This is like 60s, in the 60s, this guy's saying this. So don't tell me that they didn't think this way. When you got David Duke, the Grand Wizard of the KKK, deciding he's going to get into politics, did he join the Democratic side or did he join the Republican side? He didn't join the Democratic side because he knew he would never win. He would never win the opportunity. We'll get rid of him in a minute. He joined the Republican side and everybody was cool with it. No one said, step down. You are a grand wizard, step down. Nobody said that. So the Republican Party has been MAGA for a long time. Why are they called MAGA? Anyway, think about that for a minute. Stop being ridiculous and think about that for a minute. They call MAGA because somebody came up with a slogan of Make America Great Again, right? To when we used to whip slaves and when we used to take immigrants and just brown immigrants and just throw them back into Mexico. So people didn't want to say, oh, the Make America Great people, the Make America Great people. So they just took each letter like we normally do as Americans. We all do that as Americans. And we took the first letter of each word. There you go. As long as the word it doesn't lead into profanity, that's what America usually does. I worked for the United States Postal Service for years. I've worked in the government as well as an intern. I know that every time something new comes out, no matter what it's called, they say, okay, we're not going to say this long thing every time we mention this. So let's break it down. They just break it down to the first letter of each thing. And that's all that it is. But this Let's Make America Great Again has always been around. When you are a left-wing person and you're saying these things that these are not the same, that's not the same, that they're different, they're separate, you're not helping anyone. You're not helping yourself, and you're not helping anyone. And especially you women out there, when you women say it, come on, say, enough is enough. I'm going to say this, and this is not to offend women in any way. And so I'm going to say that right now. This is not to offend women in any way. But one guy one time asked me, and yes, this guy, I wouldn't say he was an incel, but he's probably very close to this guy. So I know that when he asked the question, but he said, if women were to totally take over right now, do you think the world would be better off than it is now with men controlling it? And I say, yeah. I say yes. He said it won't. It won't. And he mentioned things like this, because when women are supposed to act properly, and when I say women, please understand women, I don't mean all. It's like when women say, all men are bad. I know that women don't mean all men. It's just, this is how we talk nowadays. People say, when white people do this, they don't mean all white people. So I understand that. But, you can't be this type of person anymore. These days have to stop. You have to see things for what they really are. You see MAGA, and you're trying to say MAGA and Republicans. We don't have three parties. We don't have the Democratic Party, Republican Party, and the MAGA Party. No, they're one and the same, everybody. And I'm really getting very tired of people just making excuses. And I'm going to tell you, before I exit this episode, I'm going to tell you why I believe people do that. I believe people do that because they grew up with their uncles, right? Or their grandfathers, whatever it may be. And their grandfathers is always taken care of, always been there for them, always been good to them, right? They probably, in some cases, never saw their grandfather call someone an N-word or act in any way negative towards a woman or a brown person. So they think this person is God, so to speak. Then you find out that they're in MAGA, that they're in the Republican Party, deep in the Republican Party, while you are on the left. They're over there voting for the McCanns of the world and all these negative people. And that breaks your heart. And it's turn around and say that MAGA, Republican, are one. That just breaks your heart, just blows your head. I forget the term that it's called when you realize that the world that you're living in is not really everything that it's claimed out to be. Okay? You don't think that our founding fathers knew that they were hypocrites when they said, all men are free, and then they had slaves, or they did what they did to the Native American? You don't think that they knew they were hypocrites? They knew they were hypocrites, okay? They knew it. And we have to now grasp that. And I'm going to tell you this right now, and then we'll end it with this. When I was in college, I took a class, Latin studies class. And in that Latin study class, and I'm not going to get a debate on whether what I was taught was correct or incorrect, okay? But in that Latin studies course, I learned two of the things I learned were that Spaniards were the ones that started this slavery that we know of today. Because slavery was always, and look it up yourself, was always, I'm going to lend you, $100 to build a house, and you pay me back. Then for some reason, that person's unable to pay that person back. So now they become a slave. An indentured servant. Once they pay off the bill, they're free. if they have children, their children are not slaves. Okay? But now the Spaniards have created this new thing where we can take these people, we can make them slaves. If they have offspring, we can enslave their offspring. And that's the slavery that we know of today. Also learned that when the Spaniards were talking about these people, these Africans, they called them negros. Negro is color black in Spanish. When they started to, when they were in the United States, because remember the Spaniards were in what is now known as the continental U.S. way before the British, or what we know now as the Americans. Okay, look it up. That's why you have states like Florida, and because of that, you have Mexico. And Mexico, and that's why you have Texas, which is a Spanish word. Las Vegas, Arizona, California, okay, Nevada. Those are all Spanish words. So Spaniards have already taken over that. So when they started to mix with the British and the French, they said to them, what is this that you have here? Oh, we got this thing that, we have these Africans. They didn't call them Africans. They didn't say, we have enslaved these Africans. They say, we have enslaved these Negros. And the English, being what they are, was like, what? What did it call them? What did they call it? And that's when the N-word came to be, okay? So the influence of all this is by the Spaniards. Okay, what I'm trying to get to is, I am Puerto Rican, okay? I have a mixture of Spaniard, and I'm not putting this in any good order. In fact, no, I will put this in the right order. African, Taino, which is sort of like the Indians that you find in the continental U.S. in Spain, okay? When I learned, okay, that a part of me, okay, the blood that runs through me is the blood that started all this. I was taken back by it, but I know that I cannot ignore that part of my people. It's not my fault, right? I didn't do it, but even though I didn't do it, I have to, yes, take ownership of it, because a part of me is Spaniard. Because if I just ignore that part and allow that part to tell its story in a way that doesn't tell the truth, then the other parts of me suffer. The African part of me suffers. The Taino part of me suffers. And then this cycle just continues. And that's why this crap, it's a shame, because you have people in America that say, well, I can't teach my kid the real history of America because they'll be hurt. No, but you can teach and treat, or you can treat the African kids like crap, right? You can treat them like crap, but you can't tell your own kids, look, this is what we did. It was wrong and we shouldn't do it, and we need to get past that. Yeah, it might be shocking. Like I said, I was taken back when I learned. But, you have to go through that to grow. You have to go through that to grow. Otherwise, you end up where we're at. If my memory serves me right, there have been 4 times in American history where this immigration law, where we just scooping up people we don't like and deporting them, has happened 4 times in American history. Why are we repeating this 4 times in American history? Because we're choosing to ignore our real history of what we did to the Native Americans, what we continue to do, what we did to the African American, what we continue to do to the African American, what we did to women. And then when we face that all as a nation will be a better place. So I thank you for listening, but this is the truth, and this is what we have to face. So thank you for listening. Continue to subscribe. If you have an opinion, send it my way. I like to hear it. Have a good day. We love you guys. And remember, face the truth.